Hi guys, today I thought I would do a favorites video. And this is a little bit different than my other ones I've done before because normally I do movies, beauty, TV, stuff like that, and today I'm doing one for books. These are my favorite books of all time. I was an English major, I've read a lot of books. These books I feel like aren't super unique, you've probably heard of a lot of them, but either way I just wanted to throw them out there if you guys are looking for something to read. If you haven't read them, let's get started. So my first #1 favorite book that like if someone asked you like your all-time favorite book, this is it, and that is Tuck Everlasting. The movie, the book, all of it is so good. It's just so magical and romantic but sad. It kind of has everything you want from a book. It has action, it has family, it has history and magic and everything, and I love that kind of thing. I feel like sometimes there's certain things missing from books, and that book is kind of the book that got it started for me, like my love of reading. Something that I really hope to share when I have kids, like with them one day. #2 is a classic, and it's Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I just love Pride and Prejudice. It's my favorite just because I feel like, I don't want to say it's like the most classic romantic comedy, and although it kind of can be annoying because it does show the annoyingness of people, kind of like their worst qualities, I think that it's very realistic to a sense, and I think that it's kind of a good starting point if you want to read a lot of Jane Austen because it kind of embodies all the stories. Not embodies all the stories, but embodies her style really well, and it's just the most interesting of all of them in my opinion. And then next would be the updated version of Pride and Prejudice, which is Bridget Jones' Diary. If you didn't know that that was a book, it's a modern version of Pride and Prejudice in a way, and I love that. I didn't actually know that when I first saw the movie. I really love that, how it shows the modern version. It's kind of more clear and you can see the relations between that story and real life, and the book is really great. It's actually, if you like the Bridget Jones series, like the movies, you'll love the book. It kind of gives you even more of a sense into the character rather than just seeing the movie. For me, I don't know why I really get into like books and movies that are one and the same. I love seeing like my opinion of it and like what I see in the book versus what they made the movie into, if that makes sense. Like sometimes when I read a book and I picture it in my mind, the movie is so exact, and then sometimes it's so drastic, and sometimes I'm disappointed, yes, but I don't know, I just really love it. And I love actually seeing the movie before reading the book. I'm not sure why, because it's easier to picture something that way, but I feel like you like the book is almost always better than the movie, so when you see the movie first, you're even more excited about the book. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. Another one which I read in school, I think freshman year of high school, is Speak. It's a really intense story. Yes, there's a movie with Kristen Stewart, but Speak is a book I think everyone in high school should read. It's really, really powerful about sexual assault, or rape actually, and kind of shows how it could be so hard to admit something like that happening. And I think at this time in history, it's really important to read stuff like that, watch movies like that, because it opens your eyes. Like, it might be a difficult topic, it might not be something that you want to know a lot about, but something you need to know a lot about. It shows how someone might want to admit something happened to them and they're trying really hard to, but it's always not as easy as some people think it is. And they think, you know, if it happens to someone else and you don't admit it, then it's your fault. But that's not true. You can see how fallout of admitting it happened is sometimes worse than the actual incident itself, and it was for me, and they show that, and I just think it's really important. Another kind of similar one is The 10th Circle. I'm pretty sure that was a Lifetime movie. I can't remember. I think I was in the middle of reading the book when the movie actually came out. It's a really, really good book about a family and their reaction to their teenage daughter's problem, and kind of how the whole family reacts. It's very intense. If you don't like things that are intense like that, if you prefer books that are more like romantic comedies, this definitely isn't something you'd want to read. But if you like things that are really, really intense, I'd give that one a read. But it was really, really powerful. I think if you were an English major or a philosophy major, something like that, or a history major either, even, you know, like that, there's a lot of elements in that book that are very unique. I think that that book stands out a lot. Next is Love and Other Impossible Pursuits. I did see this movie first. It's not, the movie is actually called The Other Woman. It's with Natalie Portman, but the book is called Love and Other Impossible Pursuits. It's about, I guess, I don't want to give you like the whole story, but it's about a young woman who's a lawyer and her life, and just kind of how she adjusts to a lot of changes in her life, from good changes to bad changes, and how her family goes through it. And the movie is really great, but the book is even better. it gives you a lot of insight into the characters even more so. The movie definitely left out a lot because the book is quite long. I think that that book is really touching. I think if you're in your 20s or 30s, you'll love reading that book. It's not necessarily a teenage kind of read, but I definitely think it's a really great like book club book that you could talk about with like a big group of people. It's super interesting. One is The Guardian by Nicholas Sparks. I actually read that on audiobook, and Nicholas Sparks obviously has a lot of great books. I read quite a few of them, but The Guardian was one of my favorites. I love the ones that are more, I mean obviously The Notebook is great and stuff, but I love the ones that are very actiony. Safe Haven is kind of like that has like a mystery involved in it, and this one is like that. The Guardian is very kind of dark, but at the same time it's romantic and sweet like all the other ones, but it has an element of mystery to it which I really love, and kind of thriller almost. So if you like that element of Nicholas Sparks, or really any books, if you like kind of having like a thriller mystery involved in the romance, I think that one will be a really great if you haven't read The Guardian. It's really good. I hope they make a movie of that when they haven't. Next of course is Twilight, and I feel so stupid, but Twilight is really good. I saw the first movie and then fell in love and read all the books, but the first book is my favorite. The first movie is my favorite. If you don't like Twilight the movies, I don't blame you, but the books are really good. Like they're such an easy read, but the story, the way that Stephanie Meyer wrote them is phenomenal, and I can see why they made them into a movie and a franchise. I think they messed up with the movies after the first one. I just think they made really bad choices and made it more commercialized than it should have been. It should have stayed more indie like the first one, but I do think that the Twilight books are really worth a read. Whether you've seen the movies or not, it's really not necessary, but the books just have so much more of like an interesting element, a whole extra world to it, and it's really cool. I really like that. And then next are a whole series of books which you might actually know are books, and I think you could probably find them on eBay or something, and that is the Charmed books. If you didn't know, I'm obsessed with Charmed. I did a whole video about it. Charmed is my favorite TV shows of all time. They did have a whole series. I used to sell them at Kmart back when Kmart was still a store, and I read a lot of them. A lot of the books were exact replicas like of the episodes, but there was one book that was my favorite, and it was Truth and Consequences, and so it took place, I think it's season 4, and had elements of everything. It was so good. I wish they made an episode of that one, but it was about when Cole was human, which was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole show, and about, I think Phoebe gets captured by a demon, and Cole as a human has to go through the underworld to get to her, and it's really interesting. It gives you a whole new side of Cole that we never get to see on the show. If you love Cole, you can try to find this book because gosh, it was so good. I'd love to go and read all of them. They also made Buffy the Vampire Slayer books, which are really good, but the Charmed ones are better, but they're just so good. And if you love the story already and the characters, it's just so interesting to see a whole new story that you never knew already. So I really love those as well. And I know this sounds like so lame because I'm not like a huge reader. I haven't read a lot since I graduated college. These are just some books I really love. Let me know if you have any recommendations below. I'd love to read more books and like start reading again. Thank you so much for watching. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!